what's up guys? JP Moses here, awesomerei.com, real estate investing for awesome people. Today I want to share with you a document that is critical in our real estate business. It is the right tool to pull out at the right time when a purchase contract just doesn't quite make sense. It's the option agreement. You need it in your business, and I'm going to give you mine, the one that we use in our business, with a small disclaimer that you need to run it by an attorney and make sure it's kosher for your area. Now, why am I doing this? First of all, welcome to my backyard. I'm about to go check and see if our chickens have laid any eggs today, and I guess you're going to share that with me. Why am I doing this? Because number one, these documents are important and I want to share them with you. We like to let you swipe and deploy our stuff. It's part of our culture here at Awesome REI. So we're going to let you swipe and deploy this option agreement in your business. Secondly, you need to understand how and why to use it and when to use it. So what I want to do first in this video is walk you through what is an option contract, why do you even need it? Secondly, when do you use it, how do you use it, and then we're going to walk through the document. I'm actually going to show you how to fill it out. Okay? Now if you want to get the document, you're going to need to go to our website. But before you do that, if you're watching this video on Facebook, would you please do me a favor, personal favor, this would mean the world to us. Like our Facebook page. Please, pretty please, with sugar on top. We would like you to like us on Facebook. It gives Facebook some nice social proof that, I guess that we're cool or whatever. So would you like our page if you're watching this on Facebook? If you're watching this on YouTube, would you subscribe to our YouTube channel, please? Again, to show the YouTubes that we're pretty cool. So go ahead and take care of that for me right now, please. Now, if you want to get this document when this video is done, the way you're going to do that is follow the link that you see in the description of where this video is posted. You follow that link, go to that page, and leave a comment on the page there, and after you leave the comment, you will get our document. A little give and take. So you got to go there, you got to engage with us, just leave us a comment. Details are on the page. After you leave a comment, you'll get access to my option agreement. You can swipe it, deploy it, and use it in your own real estate investing business to your heart's content. Let's see, do we have any eggs here? Bam! Look at that. Yeah! Love some fresh eggs. All right, guys, so without further ado, let's jump in and take a look at my option agreement.
The real estate option contract or option agreement. But first, before I run through the document, and it's a very simple agreement, I'll show you exactly how to fill it out and tell you what I think are kind of the best practices for doing so. First, I'm going to run through kind of what an option is. I don't want to assume anything. I know some of us, excuse me, some of us know already and are actively using options, and maybe this is just going to be another form in your arsenal. Others are coming right into this going, I don't even know what the difference is between an option and a contract. What the heck is this, so that I know how to use it. So I'm going to cover that in this video so that you're armed and equipped to be able to swipe and deploy this little goodie. But first, I got to give you the standard disclaimer. It's always true, and I always try to remember to say it. I am not an attorney. Even more importantly than that, I'm not your attorney. Please consult your own legal counsel before you apply this. Just consider it for entertainment purposes until you consult your own attorney, okay? Do your own due diligence. This is your business. Treat it like a business. And you know, what I'm going to describe may or may not work exactly the same way for you. So just do what you need to do to get this thing checked out, okay? So, the real estate option contract defined. A real estate option agreement is a written contract between two parties, the optionor, which is the seller of the property, and the optionee, which is typically the buyer or the potential buyer, in which one party buys the right to have the first chance of purchasing a piece of property at a specific price at some point in the future. Now, there's a reason that the right is in green. I'm emphasizing you are not buying the property necessarily. You're buying the right to buy the property. Therefore, it is your option. Get it? So, point number one, it is the buyer's option, not obligation to buy. Okay? The seller, however, in a standard option contract like the one you're about to see, does have an obligation to reserve the property for you. okay? And that is something called a unilateral agreement. For those of you who've been through any kind of realtor training or contract law class, you've heard of a bilateral agreement and a unilateral agreement. Bilateral means it is obligating to both parties, the optionor and the optionee in this case, or the buyer and the seller. By the way, quick little side note, optionor, if you ever get confused and you're not sure how to remember that, the optionor is the giver of the option. The optionee is the, receivee, is the person receiving the option. Okay, so that's kind of a little trick you can use to remember that. And an option agreement typically is a unilateral agreement, meaning only one person, only the optionor, the giver of the option, is obligated to reserve that property under the terms of that option agreement for you for X amount of time. You don't have to buy. You have the option to buy during the term of the option agreement. Also, standard contract law applies, okay? Even though this is not a purchase agreement or a purchase contract, it is still a contract. So any of the standard stuff in a contract, like contract expiration date, for example. In Tennessee, a contract has to have an expiration date in order for it to be valid. If it doesn't, then it's not a valid contract. Legal consideration. It has to be exchanged in order for a contract to be viable. There it is, legal consideration, expiration date, the two things I just mentioned. I was getting ahead of my bullets there. So keep that in mind. Standard contract law applies to the option contract. Also, the option can be extended, it can be assigned, and it can be amended unless expressly prohibited. Okay, a lot of people, like in contracts, if you're wholesaling, a lot of people will put they'll write their name as the buyer and then write and/or assigns afterwards, which a lot of folks seem to think that that's what gives them the right to possibly assign that contract over to somebody else. I'm not going to get into what assigning is if you don't know, but really, by default, any contract is already assignable, it's extendable, it's amendable by default, unless it expressly prohibits it. So keep that in mind. And as I said already, consult your attorney with whatever contracts you decide to incorporate into your real estate investing endeavors. And I would suggest you take a contract law class. I did that when I became licensed, and I've been through seasons. I'm not currently licensed. I was licensed for a number of years, and there's pros and cons. That's a whole different conversation in and of itself. But I remember when I first got licensed back in 2004, and one of the classes I took was a contract law class taught by an attorney. It was taught at the local board of realtors by a real estate attorney. It was 2.5 hours, I think, long on one afternoon. And I learned a lot about just what a legal and binding agreement makes. I recommend it. It's not exciting, but it's a good investment of a couple of hours. And you don't have to be, a lot of people don't know this, but you don't have to actually be a realtor in order to take classes at your local board of realtors. You can just pay a fee. Usually it's a little higher fee than members of the board, but you can just pay a fee and attend one of those classes. So look into that. It's my recommendation. Common uses of an option agreement. Getting equitable interest with little or no risk. Now, equitable interest is legal interest in a property, and it's something that you need in order to be able to market a property for sale before you actually buy it. Okay, I know this may sound a little technical. Feel free to rewind the video if you need to in order to really kind of wrap your mind around this, but this is important. And when I went through realtor school, this is the way it was explained to me. Property ownership is not one thing, okay? It's best to not think of property ownership as just one big right that you have. Instead, you should think of property ownership as a bundle of rights. Kind of like a bundle of sticks, okay? Imagine that you're holding a bundle of sticks under your arm. Maybe there's 24 sticks under your arm, and each stick is a different aspect of property ownership. All right, one stick might be mineral rights. One stick might be easements, rights of easements. There's different aspects to property ownership, and cumulatively the bundle of sticks, the bundle of aspects of ownership, form this thing that we call property ownership. So the deal is, you can't market a property for sale. I'm talking specifically to wholesalers here, okay? Wholesalers, you know the deal. You want to put a property under contract of some sort, and then you want to flip that thing before you even close on it. You can't legally do that unless you have one of those sticks from that owner's bundle. And the way you get one of those sticks in your possession is to get a contract or an option secure on the property. Secure that, and then you now have equitable interest. So it gives you the ability to get that equitable interest with really little or no risk to yourself. It's less risk than if you had a purchase agreement in place, and you can market it for resale. As I said, you are a principal in the transaction. That's why you have that right. So as I said, it is a lower risk than a purchase and sale agreement. And a lot of times you'll hear the option used in conjunction with a lease called a lease option. And typically kind of a best practice for a lease option is you have a lease and separately you have an option agreement. And you might talk to, I think it's a great way to sell property in a lot of cases. It's kind of a rent to own type scenario where you can rent a property to somebody, give them a 2-year option, and then maybe give them some rent credits that count towards their down payment. And it can just be kind of an owner financing substitute. Owner financing light is maybe one way to think about it. It's not a method that I particularly recommend for buying because I think you don't have enough control in the transaction unless it's a very short-term lease option. I wouldn't recommend long-term lease options for investors, but that's just me. And yeah, I do think it is a solid exit strategy, lease options specifically. One great approach to using an option is one, find a good deal. Number 2, tie it up with an option, and I mean tie it up ethically. Tie it up just means, you get your equitable interest in return for having an option agreement in place, but always be honest, okay? When you put an option on a property, don't tell the owner, don't make them believe that you're going to be closing with certainty. I'm going to be buying this property. Just be honest and say, I'm not sure if this is going to be a deal or not. I have a network of investors I work with, and I got to talk to a number of them probably and see if any of them are interested in partnering with me on this or what have you. So give me an option agreement. So that'll give me the time and the equitable interest that I need to be able to shop this around to my partners and see who's interested. I think it's a real honest, ethical way to go about it. This is just kind of a side tip. If your seller is nervous about letting you tie up the property with an option agreement, one of the things that you can do to kind of skirt around that is to incorporate a secondary offer cancellation with right of first refusal clause. And basically that's a clause that in so many words is going to say, okay, look, Mr. option or seller, property owner guy, let's do it this way. Give me the option agreement so that I have the equitable interest I need. But if somebody brings you another offer and it's better than my offer, then I will give you the option to cancel the option agreement. I'll give you the choice to cancel our option agreement as long as I get a right of first refusal to match that person's price. Okay, so if I'm going to buy I got an option for $100,000 on your property. Somebody comes along and offers $101,000. You can't just take their offer. You have to come to me and say, hey, somebody just brought me, I haven't been marketing the property, but somebody just brought me an offer for $101,000. And then I have to either match that and close, or we can just part ways. You match their new offer or release them. That's what I said just there. And it really can be a great way to help mitigate the seller's risk in those situations. This gives the seller the peace of mind that they need, and it gives you the equitable interest that you need to be able to go out and make a killer deal. So having said that, let's jump in, and I'm just going to blast through this agreement. It's very short and concise. It's not going to take long to go through. So let's hop over to that. All right, so here we are with our option to purchase agreement. Now, I should say, this is a standard option. It's a simple, plain English option, and you can hear my daughter just walked in and is clomping around the house. Real life, folks. Okay, so let's walk through this. This option agreement is made between the following parties, and of course, you're going to fill in the giver of the option here. You're going to fill in their full name, hereinafter referred to as optionor. That's the property owner or seller. And the optionee, it goes here, that's the receiver of the option. The following items are applicable to this agreement. The optionor agrees to grant an option to purchase to the optionee the land and improvements known as, and of course you're just going to put the full address. No need to put the legal address, just put the full street address and city and state and zip. B, optionor agrees that he or she will not attempt to enter into any other negotiations or terms for sale of this property with any other party while this agreement's in effect. If optionor receives any other independent offers on this property, optionee will be notified immediately. Now, this is not quite the clause I was telling you where it gives like a notice or right of first refusal, but it's close, and it kind of lets them know that, you know, I don't want you going out marketing the property, but if somebody brings you an offer, you got to notify me immediately. And then a lot of times I can just verbally tell them, and at that point, I'll either match their offer or I'll release you. And then sometimes I'll actually put that part in writing if I feel like I need to. Item C, upon agreement, the option would begin on the date of blank and end on the date of blank. You know, you might sign this agreement today, but the option might not take effect until tomorrow for whatever reason. But basically, you need to have a definite starting and ending date for your option period, a couple of years, couple of months, whatever seems to make sense on your transaction. So that's going to be your beginning date and the end date of your option. The purchase price will be blank, and then you're going to put the numbers here, payable by certified funds at settlement. Now let me say this, even though you're putting some of the details that you would put in a contract into this option, if you decide to come back and exercise your option to purchase, then you actually still have to put a purchase agreement in place. So this is like a holding document in a sense. It's not a replacement for a purchase and sale agreement later on, all right? And this is saying if you do go to contract, here's the amount of the property, you know, $100,000 or whatever that you decide to secure the option for. Item E, option or grants optionee access to the above property for showing to prospective buyers, contractors, or appraisers. Of course, that's important. If you put an option on a piece of property, you got to have access to the property. Item F, option or must maintain proper insurance on the before mentioned property. Clearly, it's important that they keep their insurance in place. I don't want them to think that I'm insuring it. They still own the property, so they should keep it insured. G, if the optionee purchases the property, the optionor will pay all closing costs. Now, this is obviously slanted in my favor, and usually what I'll do is I'll strike through that as an act of goodwill and say, you know what, let's just say that we'll split the closing costs, or I'll pay the closing costs. It kind of makes me look good to just kind of scratch through that one and say, optionee will pay all closing costs, or scratch through this word and write optionee and just let them know I'm willing to do that. Item H, optionor grants this option for the consideration of $10 and other valuable consideration. This is just basically a formality. This is the consideration that you're going to be putting down. Now, and depending on the deal and what you're negotiating and how savvy your seller is, you may have to put $1,000 option consideration down. This is what you risk. Okay, whatever you put down is what you have at risk. It's not an earnest money deposit, meaning if you don't exercise your option, you don't get this back. This is a fee that you are paying for the privilege of holding an option on this property for X amount of time. Now, $10 typically works with mom and pop sellers who, you know, if you have the conversation and say, I don't know if I have a deal here or not, I need to talk to people about whether or not they're going to be able to partner with me on this. Give me an option so I have the ability to go do that. And you just tell them, you know, $10, this is a formality, and I hand them a $10 bill. If you're dealing with, you know, some guy who owns a tract of land, a few acres at the bottom of a planned interstate exit, then you're gonna have to put some more serious option consideration. It's not a deal killer, just you got to see if it makes sense for the deal. Interestingly, little fun fact, I learned that there's other things besides money that can be legal consideration for an agreement like this. And in fact, in Tennessee, love and affection can be considered legal consideration. I'm not sure how you document that, but it is legal. That said, the last thing you're going to want to do, of course, is have the optionor, the owner, and you sign and date the contract. And typically, I'll also, rather than just having their names in cursive, I'll write out in manuscript underneath, and I'll usually put cell phone numbers for each person in place. And really, that's it, man. What I love about this agreement is it's simple, it's plain English, it's all on one page, it's very unintimidating and not filled with legalese. So I like it for that reason. Now, there's other option agreements out there. There's one you can get from, I'm sure, your board of realtors that's probably 10 pages long and full of all kinds of bloat. If you had to use that, you could. You could use your standard realtor's option agreement and just scratch out what you don't like and add in what you do like and make it what you want it to be. But this is a simple one that you can use. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions at all, anything you need clarifying on, please leave a comment. I love answering these questions. So leave us a comment with any questions or comments or remarks. If you've had experience using an option and you have any comments that you want to throw in on your experiences, please do that as well. Thanks, guys. JP out.